Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very, very, very long overdue episode of Over the Rainbow podcast. I am once again joined by True North,
Hello, I'm
and we
back.
are on episode 8 after like 6 months off.
Really? Was it 6 months?
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
Yeah. Well, we were both at school,
This
to
is
be
true.
fair.
Yeah, and our schedules
Crazy
lined
stuff.
up. We have time.
There we go.
I know, it's crazy.
So exciting.
Yeah, so we got a lot of stuff has happened since then to talk about, but we're not going to go over stuff that's kind of old in terms of when it came out. So today we're just going to kind of focus on the most recent patch notes. That's going to be the Year 6 Season 1 or Year 6 1.3 patch, and then the Six Invitational, which is happening right now with the playoffs starting in 3 days on the
Yep.
19th of May.
Yeah. So I guess we can get right into these patch notes here.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking at the win delta charts, do you have any thoughts when looking at the attacker one first with all these operators?
I mean, it's to be expected. So for people who don't have it pulled up in front of them, you have a lot of operators clustered around the low pick marks, but you have a few scattered throughout the top picked, including Sledge, Ace, Zofia, and Ash, which, I mean, that's to be expected. I mean, if they're in play, they're going to be picked because they're all around solid operators. They bring explosives, which is very important in the meta. Ace is the most picked hard breacher by far. He's just one of the most versatile, and people just kind of like him the best. Ever since he's come out, he's been almost a staple to bring on most attacks. So nothing surprising there. I'm kind of surprised how low Ash is as far as her win delta. It's less than -1%.
Yeah, but I just think it's because she's picked pretty much every attacking round,
Right.
and attack kind of struggles more than defense in terms of round wins, I think.
Yeah.
But for me, probably the weirdest thing is, well, not weird, but as you can see, Glass way down there in the bottom left, which is the worst you could possibly be. I don't know if he was that bad last time, but I don't know. I don't even know what they could do to change him because Glass as an operator and his ability is so wonky because he's either super overpowered or just absolutely useless.
Yeah.
And right now he's pretty much useless, even though he can still see through smokes. So I don't really know what the deal is with him.
Yeah, he's seen a lot of changes over the years. I mean, he's gone from, like you said, that big fluctuating good, bad kind of thing. But I think his state right now isn't awful. Like, he's not unusable. I mean, he has a place, but I just don't think in the generic, ranked scene, he has that big of a place when you have somebody who can just do a different job better, I guess. I mean, there's just so many better operators to pick.
Yeah, I think, and especially with the addition of Warden too, it kind of directly counters him. So,
Right.
if a team is bringing Glass, then just bring a Warden, and you basically they cancel each other out almost.
Yeah.
Except you could say Warden's better because he also can stop Flash from being blind.
That's true.
So,
with that, I want to move into the defenders.
yeah, for sure.
So we'll get to his specific patch notes here in a second, his adjustments and how I and North think they have affected it. But Jaeger with the very high pick rate. I think it's 95% pick rate. I mean, are you surprised? No.
No.
But his win delta as well, -2%.
Yeah, again, it's just got to be because of how much he's brought.
Yeah.
But it is weird that it's low because everyone thinks of him as such a good operator. But if you're picked every round, then you're losing more rounds than someone I don't know, Oryx, because he's picked basically never.
Right.
But yeah.
It's interesting, though. I don't know how the math all adds up, but if he has a 95% pick rate and a -2% win delta, would that mean that defenders are losing more?
I don't know. I don't really know exactly how to read that statistically.
Yeah.
But it seems like on this chart, there are a lot of the operators that are used most of the time are actually below that
Right.
median line.
Yeah.
Which is weird because Smoke, Mute, Cade, Vigil, Wamai, Maestro, all of them are below. They're in the negatives in terms of win percentage, which is odd, right? That's kind of weird. Because I thought maybe ranked is different. Maybe in ranked, attack is better right now.
Yeah. I mean,
who knows?
Ranked is a different breed.
It really is. I'm just trying to see what else here kind of jumps out at me. I mean, Malusi is up there at like 65, 66%, and she's also pretty strong. I mean,
Right.
Malusi is kind of crazy also. She gets banned a lot though, but her gadget is still like really good, and she has a C4.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
yeah, and
she's still good. I mean, if she's in play, you're picking her. She's just
yeah,
good, kind of like
exactly.
Jaeger.
She's good on any site as well. Like a lot of other operators are only good on like certain objectives, but she
Hmm.
is good everywhere.
Yeah. Going to the ban rates.
Yeah,
Attackers, not anything surprising, I'd say. I mean, your staple Thatcher banned almost 80% of the time. What's new? Jackal. Blackbeard being at 23, but that should be going down pretty soon because Blackbeard has his shield is that little piece of paper protecting him's not doing so much anymore.
it really isn't.
Um, then for
He's
the
still annoying though,
yeah,
or can be.
it's like a mental thing at this point.
Yeah, it's true.
Mibr though, the defense 75% ban rate. Just once again, just those GEO operators really love to be banned. Jackal, Mira, and ranked.
Yeah,
Malusi having a high ban rate, not surprising. Valkyrie is pretty high, higher than I would have thought. And then Cade and Clash. So I guess people. I mean, this is ranked platinum and above. So I mean, there is a higher skill ceiling here, I would say. So I mean, like you see the high Thatcher ban, you see like almost a 20% Cade ban. So some people are trying to play it a little bit more tactically. Like typically, if Thatcher's off the board, you take Cade off the board. It's just one less thing to worry about. But just something to consider there as well.
yeah. Something about the Valkyrie ban is I think on certain maps she's like super super good. So I think it really just depends on the map that you ban Valkyrie. But like someone like Mira, Malusi, and like Thatcher, they're basically banned. It doesn't matter what map it is. Jackal to that, some a little bit to that as well. But there's certain maps where he's definitely better, like the bigger maps. Uh, but we were talking about this a little bit before, where in the attacking ban rate, a no ban, like not banning an operator, is at a 7%, and that's
Yeah.
above the bans of Maverick, Ace, and Nomad, which are at respectively 7%, 6%, and 6%. So I'm just so confused by the fact that people would rather not ban an operator than ban like Maverick, Ace, or Nomad on attack. Like I'm just thinking Clubhouse. Maverick's a really good ban on Clubhouse, and then like on Coastline, Nomad's a really good ban. Like
Yeah.
why are people banning these people instead of, and then they just pick a no ban instead?
Right.
Like that's actually mind blowing to me. But I mean, we don't really play a whole lot of ranked, and I mean we've had experience in the competitive scene a little bit at least, and obviously no one picks a no ban and like they don't a no ban there. So
Yeah.
anyway,
But operator balancing. This is where I think it's really going to be interesting to talk about. So
mm-hmm.
Ace, he is going to lose his smoke grenades, which I think is a pretty big nerf to him. His
Yeah,
smoke grenades not necessarily to like use them, but also just as something to burn utility because that's what you need nowadays. I mean, you need something to like throw it in a Rooney gate or get used to get rid of like it could be like disable a Jaeger device long enough to open up a wall or something like that. I mean, it's I think his removal of smoke grenades will hurt some demographics more than others in terms of like what level of play that you're at.
mm-hmm.
But I think it's a nerf in general. I mean, some people might disagree, but I do think it is a nerf. I mean, he's getting a claymore, so okay,
Hammer isn't that great?
yeah. And his smoke grenades are going to be going to thermite. We kind of talk about him as well. So that's really it.
Yeah,
Ace is losing smokes. Thermite is gaining smokes. Thermite's losing a claymore for the smokes, and Ace will be gaining that claymore. So they're essentially just switching secondary utility, which
yeah.
is kind of what Thermite used to have for a long time. He used to have smokes and then flashbangs.
Well, I think it kind of makes sense because Thermite is obviously not picked as much as Ace is, so they're kind of trying to balance that at least a little bit.
Right.
Just because Ace, when he had smoke grenades, he was basically just a one-man army in terms of, like you said, either clearing utility or setting up the execute with smoke grenades. And then
Right.
he is usually, if you're Ace, you have the diffuser, so you set up your smokes and then you plant. So yeah, it kind of giving those smokes to Thermite. I don't know if that'll change though, because most Thermite players will probably still use the flashes for burn.
Yeah.
Um,
It'll,
I don't know, but I could see the smokes being used on Thermite for execute heavy, like more of an execute centered lineup.
right.
Yeah, but I think that's fine. I don't think there's anything really too problematic with that change. I think it's pretty decent overall. Kind of buffing Thermite just a tiny little bit, and then nerfing Ace like a little bit more because now he has no throwables. But yeah, what do you think that's like? You think that's a fine change, or do you have a problem with that?
With Ace losing the smokes, or like
Yeah,
the. I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, I don't really have that big of an opinion on it because I mean, it's definitely a nerf, but I don't know like how game changing it'll be, kind of thing. If that makes
I don't
sense.
think not really at all.
Like
It'll be a little bit of a change, but
I think it'll be more of an inconvenience for more
yeah,
than like anything else.
that's true.
But that's about it. Um, but if you're okay with it,
Oh, I'm okay. And I
I
play Ace.
want to talk about this. The elephant in the room, the Jaeger changes.
Oh, we're just jumping in there. Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Jaeger, everybody's favorite operator since the dawn of time.
Yeah.
He's getting a pretty big nerf, I would argue. He's losing 5 bullets in his magazine, so he's going to have a mag cap of 25 instead of 30. And then the 416C recoil is going to be increased, which I think is kind of
Definitely
crazy.
tell. Yeah, you definitely. Everyone noticed when they
Oh,
loaded
for
in the
sure.
new patch, and it was like, "Holy smokes! This thing is jumping. It's kicking." Yeah. So tell me your thoughts on it, because you said you think it's a pretty big nerf.
Um, well, for starters, everybody who has played Jaeger like as a diehard Jaeger main, they're gonna have to completely relearn like how to play him because like before Jaeger like had recoil, it wasn't like anything super drastic. Um, and I still wouldn't say it's like that bad, but you have to pull down now. You can't just kind of like let the gun ride. You do have to pull down. So that's something for Jaeger mains to have to kind of cope with in the long run. Some people have
Hmm.
said that SMG players should play Jaeger now because of the recoil, but I don't think it's that bad. I really don't. I mean, it definitely does
No.
bounce around a lot. You have to kind of like keep your focus, for sure. But it's a nerf. I mean, like they're really trying to bring Jaeger back in line with all these other operators, and I mean they nerfed his gadget, they've nerfed his gun, they've nerfed his speed. There's really not that much else they can change besides maybe taking away any secondary utility the operator has. I mean,
Yeah.
they've really changed everything about this. Like, he looks nothing like what he did at the beginning of Siege. No more ACOG, that was the first blow. Then he was no longer a 3-speed, that's the second blow. Now his gun um, takes more. Oh, I think they actually nerfed his damage.
They
And
did. That was before
yeah,
they've nerfed his damage
damage,
also.
now mag cap, now recoil. I mean, there's really nothing else they can do unless they just take the vertical grip off that thing entirely.
Just no grip at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's
That's be
insane what
it.
they're trying to do to bring Jaeger in line.
And yet he still has a 95% pick rate.
Well, we'll see after this season.
Yeah, I mean, like personally, I think it's definitely a nerf, but honestly, I think it'll just take a little bit of time for people to get used to it, and then he'll be back to his normal conquering. Always getting picked.
Yeah.
I just think it'll take a little bit of adjustment, but then people will eventually get used to it. I don't think like a lot of good players can control recoil, like they definitely can.
Hmm.
So it's not going to be a huge issue. But I think the next thing that if they're going to nerf Gagger, they should definitely nerf his what was it called? Like his reserve ammo count. And they should do this with a lot of operators because people just shoot through walls and just pre-fire everything because they can because they have that extra ammo.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, they should do that to like Ash, Jaeger, uh, like pretty almost. There's a ton of operators who have like way too much ammo. Those are the two most egregious though, and especially since they're so aggressive operators, they just really get abused in that regard of just pre-firing everything or shooting through every wall. Every wall. So that's the next step they should take if he's still not, you know,
Right.
if he's still used so much. But honestly, I don't think this is going to change his pick rate all that much. Maybe a little bit, but I think it'll even out once people start getting used to his recoil.
I think that the die-hard Jaeger fans will stick with him, but the people
Yeah,
who just kind of picked him as like more of just a comfort pick because they didn't know who else to
the
pick
gun.
will kind of
Yeah,
shy away because of
because of the recoil.
yeah.
I can agree with that. Yeah, I think people who were just picking him for his gun. I mean, now like they were like you said, they reduced his damage, his magazine capacity, and the recoil. So at this point, his gun. I don't even know if it's the best gun on defense anymore. It might still be, but it's definitely taken a few kicks. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think Malusi or like Vigil and Malusi are two ops that a lot of like people who just like to gun use because their like again their utility is just so simple. Vigil is requires a little bit more intelligence to use because you have to know when to use it.
Mhm.
But like Malusi, you just place her gadgets down and that's that. So yeah, who knows?
Time will
I
tell.
still I still suspect that his pick rate will be pretty high though. I don't know if this is gonna change much. But anyway.
Jackal, similar nerf to Jaeger. He's gonna lose 5 bullets in his mag, dropping it down to 25 from 30, and then also his
Yeah.
damage is going to be reduced. So I was kind of surprised by this. I didn't. I never like had the thing where it's like, oh, I always saw Jackal like always overpicked, or I was like, oh, dang, I died to a Jackal. I mean, yes, it's annoying when he tracks you, but I never saw him as like an
Yeah.
overpowered operator, like to
I
the
mean
point where I was always frustrated playing against him, and I felt like, man, they really need to reduce his gun. Like I was never like, oh man, his gun's just too good. I can't compete against it.
he does get banned a lot though.
True.
Like I think it said like 44% of the
Hmm.
time he gets banned.
Yeah.
So that's probably why you're not also experiencing him as much. But even when he can be picked, people it depends, but a lot of people don't pick him. But his gun was pretty good, like the C7E, which is what they nerfed. But it wasn't like just so amazing that it was like absolutely frying people. But it's a pretty good weapon. It's a pretty good weapon. But I don't know. I mean, obviously they did it because he's still getting banned a lot. Definitely in this patch note, you can definitely tell that they really focused on like just really small tweaks
Yeah.
to operators, like really small. Like you lose 5 bullets, you get a little more recoil, or you reduce your damage by 4 or something.
Hmm.
They didn't do a whole lot of crazy stuff, but like you said, the biggest one was definitely Jaeger because that
Yeah.
recoil has changed quite a bit. But this Jackal one, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's going to change at like anything at all.
Right. Um, the only other thing I feel like that's worth mentioning is Tachanka. Pretty much, his whole kit got buffed.
Yeah,
All of his launcher, pretty much every stat on it got buffed, and his
yeah.
gun, just the like I think switch time like between that like from the gun to the sidearm, was buffed as well. So he just kind of got buffed a little bit to try and keep him in play. I think he might see more action when Goyo's banned. Not when Goyo's banned, when Goyo gets changed, because Goyo will be losing his shields here shortly.
It's true. That's going to be like that little. Is that a for sure thing, or they were
I'm
just
pretty
thinking about
sure.
that?
I'm pretty sure they're doing it to try and reduce the shield meta, like the deployable shield.
That'll be interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, that will be interesting because I've seen like a picture of it before, and it's a tiny little block on the ground.
Yeah, it's like a. I think it is shielded on the one side though, so you can't just shoot it from any angle, which is good.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be interesting. We'll have to see how that works. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the patch notes there.
Yeah, not too much to talk about, but the Six Invitational North. What do you think?
Oh, we're working up to have a pretty good championship going on here for the world championship. All right.
Hmm.
So far, it's been pretty eventful. But I think we said we wanted to talk about the format first, like how that's working in
Yes.
terms of as opposed to last year.
Right.
So I guess I'll kind of talk about it a little bit first. So this year, or sorry, I'll start with last year. Last year they had 4 groups, and basically each team played against one another in those 4 groups, and whoever the top 2 of those groups were made it on to the quarterfinals, and whoever the bottom two teams were just got eliminated. And then the whole bracket, you got to the quarterfinals, was a double elimination bracket. So if you lose once, it's fine. You just go to the lower bracket,
Right.
and you still have a chance to get to the finals. But this year they did 2 groups, and basically each player or each team in the group played each other in like a round robin sort of tournament. And it was best of ones this time as opposed to best of threes in the other group stages from last year. And basically the very bottom team from each group just got eliminated. But then the bottom, I think 5 teams in Group A and bottom 3 teams in Group B, they went to the lower bracket of the playoffs, and then the top 4 teams of each group went to the upper bracket. So if you're in the upper bracket, if you lose, you just go down to the lower bracket, and if you're in the lower bracket, if you lose, then you're out.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a little different from last year. What are your kind of thoughts on that?
Oh, sorry, mid yawn there. I like it. I mean, like, I think it makes it so that more teams can compete. So, like, I think in total we have more teams competing, right? There's going to be
this year I think
16.
there is. Well, in the playoffs, there's going to be. There's more teams in the playoffs.
Yeah,
because last year there was like
12.
12.
Yeah, so I like that. I like that there's more teams competing because that means more viewership. But I also like that certain teams would perform better. Like, there's more of an incentive to perform better in the group stage, I feel like, this year than last year. Because last year, you just had to, like, make the cut.
Survive.
And then you got in. But this year, you had to make the cut and perform well to get a chance at...
the upper bracket.
To kind of get, like,
an extra life.
Yeah. I guess it's a good way to put it. So you can drop down to losers bracket. So... with the upper bracket, is there any standout teams that kind of surprised you?
Honestly, I'm looking at it right now. It's got to be Team Empire in the upper bracket. Like, they finished first place in Group A. I don't think anyone really saw that coming because they had a terrible European League stage. But they are just like, Joystick is going nuts. That guy is just killing everything in his path. He's just going crazy. So I think Team Empire is definitely a team that really surprised me in terms of how well they're doing.
Yeah, I would say so. I watched the Empire G2 game, and
that was destruction.
It's always a good matchup between those two teams. But for a while there, especially on the first half, Joystick looked like he was just playing ranked.
Yeah, he's definitely on a heater this tournament. That's for sure. Hopefully, he can continue his performance into the playoffs here.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely something that plays a factor in this group stage in particular, because it was best of ones. You kind of got some really unpredictable results. Like, there was some really crazy upsets, like Parabellum beat SSG, Makers beat SSG as well.
Right.
I'm trying to think of some other ones. I think like Cloud9 beat another team that looked pretty crazy as well. Who did they beat? I don't remember, but there have been some pretty insane upsets this tournament. Way more than there was last tournament. Yeah, last SI. Yeah.
I think the rest of the top teams, it's kind of like they're the top teams from their region, and they have been consistently doing pretty well. I mean, BDS top of EU right now. They're in their spot.
BDS looks pretty strong
Not a surprise.
Right now.
I'm really excited to see. I think it would be BDS and TSM for round 2. I think that could be a really good game.
Yeah, because BDS is playing. We can talk about the specific matches now.
Yeah.
BDS is playing Ninjas in Pajamas, which I think BDS will win that. What do you think?
I would put my money on them. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, NIP did pretty decent in the group stage, but they weren't like, I don't know, they didn't like plow through. Like if you look at the standings here,
Right.
BDS went 8-1, so they won 8 games and lost one. Ninjas in Pajamas in Group B won 4 games and lost 3 games. So as you can see, like BDS had a way more dominant performance in their group. So
Yeah.
just almost just because of that, you have to give it to BDS. But then also they have Chico, who's insane.
Yeah. As he should be. I mean, if anything, it'd like to be fun to see him fence off against Joystick in the upper bracket finals.
That's what right now a lot of people are kind of predicting that to actually be the final as well. Because if BDS and Team Empire get to the upper bracket finals, if one of them loses, they just go down to the uh, lower bracket final, so they can still come back. So, like, let's say BDS beats Team Empire, then Team Empire goes down into the lower bracket. They have a pretty good, I would say, pretty good chance of beating whoever that is, and then moving back into the finals, which would
Yeah.
be a pretty good match. But yeah, so BDS will probably beat Ninjas in Pajamas. With FaZe Clan and TSM, I would probably give that to TSM as well. They've been looking pretty strong, and especially with BO3s, they're pretty good at those two.
It'll be good.
Uh,
I'm really excited. Also, on a side note, have you been watching a lot of the Invitational?
yeah, I've watched a good amount of the games, I
Okay.
would say.
I think the production this year is top tier.
I mean, it sucks that there's no crowd,
Right.
but other than that, yeah,
With
it's
even
been
like
pretty good.
in the downtime between matches, they have like the little short films of like different things about the teams or the league or just Siege in general. Have you seen that?
Yeah, yeah, I have. They also had those last year though too.
Okay, I just felt
Um,
like they were more well done this year, and it wasn't as many. Like I hadn't seen any repeats.
oh well, let me tell you. One day I did see like the same video 3 times in a row. I
Oh,
don't know
really?
what happened
Okay.
there. Yeah, it was weird,
Maybe it's
but
just been the
overall,
times
it's
I've
been
been
pretty good.
tuning in.
Yeah, no, it's always good to see like watch like little clips like that. It's always like interesting to get like a peek into what it's like to be like to know those players and know
Yeah.
what their team is kind of going through and stuff like that.
Right.
But for the rest of these upper bracket games, we have the next one is Team Empire versus Oxygen.
Hmm.
Who would you give that one to?
I'm gonna go with Empire. I mean,
Like, yeah,
Oxygen just came off a really good season,
they did.
but I think Empire, the way they've been playing, has just been like OG
Lights out.
Empire.
Yeah. Oxygen also struggled a little bit in the group stage in their group. So yeah, Team Empire has just been lighting it up like crazy.
Yeah.
Definitely give that one to Team Empire. And then Liquid versus MIBR. Honestly, for me, that one's kind of a toss-up. They're both really good.
Yeah.
They've both been like super solid. Just because Team Liquid, I feel like has more notable players, I would probably pick because they have Nesk, right? I'd
Yeah.
probably pick Team Liquid,
Insane.
but I think that will be that'll be a crazy match because they're both again Brazilian teams, so
Right.
that'll be kind of crazy.
I think so too.
All right, then lower bracket, we have Team One versus Space Station. So I'm gonna be honest, I don't know anything about Team One, like at all. I don't know any of the players on Team One, but I love SSG, and I hope that they get into the finals. Like
Yeah.
even if they lose in the finals, I'd be okay with that. But like just getting to the finals to defend their title would be pretty awesome.
They have been struggling.
They had a horrible group stage, like terrible. Like today, the day we're recording this was the last day of the group stages, by the way. So today, on the last day of the group stage, they didn't win a single game and they played 3, and they just got lucky that Oxygen beat Giants Gaming, so that Giants got eliminated. Otherwise, Space Station very possibly could have been eliminated from the group stage, which is weird to think about.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the whole Canadian loss really shook them up because that's something we haven't mentioned either. That was a big moment for the entire Siege world. All the big players who have stepped down recently, or at
Yeah,
least since we've been on the podcast.
that's true. Tengu,
Yep.
Canadian. I mean, Canadian's technically back, but kind of have a feeling he's going to just go back into retirement after this.
Yeah, I think so too.
Uh,
Fabian.
Yeah, Fabian as well. Did
The
he officially retire, or is he still kind of sort of like on contract?
He said on his debut in the 6-on-6 that he still has the desire to play.
He
However,
hasn't got an offer yet that he
Vitality
wants.
benched him, and he's
Yeah,
stuck with them for an extended period of time. So
yeah. So he's
I
pretty much all but officially
yeah
retired at this point.
yeah. Even I think Kanto is the only person from like the winning G2 rosters to still be an active member of a team. Because Goga's
Yeah,
done now.
because Shate is
Shate's done
also
as well.
done.
Yeah.
Eunice is also, well, he's been retired for a long time.
Yeah. It's just crazy to think about all
That
that.
is
Like
that is crazy.
it's a new era of Siege approaching for sure.
Well, and then the same with EG as well, because our Continuum,
Yeah.
whoever you want to say, won that first invitational. Like the only one still playing is Canadian, I think, because Young isn't. I don't think actually Young was on the team at that point, but Necrox, MVK, they're all retired as well.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely like you said, a new era of like Shiko and Joystick
Right. Yeah.
and Bolo. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. He's had a little bit of a rough half though.
Yeah, like especially in the NAL stage, they
Right.
TSM didn't do too well. But back to the matchup of Team One versus Space Station. I
Yeah.
have no idea. I want Space Station to win, and I feel like the fact that they almost got kicked out or like almost got eliminated, kind of I think will light a fire under them that will really make them want to win and like put in even more work and like work extra hard and blah blah blah. But then again, it also could have had the opposite effect where they got really demoralized from that.
Right.
But just knowing like the guys on the team, like Canadian and Bosco and Rampy, like I feel like they will really they kind of thrive from that idea of like being down, and kind of like being the underdogs. I think they can definitely thrive from that. So I would give that one to Space Station, but I don't really know for sure because I don't know much about Team One.
So like they play better when they're down at a loss, I
Yeah,
should say.
I think so. I mean, like if you look at last year's final, they were down two maps to Nip, and they got two maps in a row back to win it out, and it looked pretty hopeless. Like I'm not gonna lie, when I was in that stadium, and they lost that second map, they lost on border. I think it was like 7-2 or 7-3,
Yeah.
and they were looking terrible, and I was like,
Yeah.
and Nip was just tearing them to shreds, and I was like, it's over. Like there's no way they can come back, but they did. So you can't count them out quite yet. I don't think
I mean,
they had.
they still have every single piece of the winning team that won the Invitational the last time that happened. It was
Exactly.
2020 or
Yeah.
2019?
No, 2020.
2020. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, I
they
mean,
do.
they're the exact same team. So I mean, they're a winning team. Like they are clearly the best team in the world caliber team. It's just a matter
Yeah.
of can they do it again, or can they at least put on a good showing again? Because right now we just aren't seeing it.
Yeah, exactly. So then the next match is G2 versus Parabellum. Speaking of teams not putting on a show, G2,
Yeah,
have you seen any of their matches? I
I
think you said you
have.
watched Empire versus them.
Yeah, I mean
They had,
they have so much talent on that team.
I
I mean, they
know.
brought Kayak on, who I don't think he's disappointed at all. So it's Kayak,
No,
Virtue, Citizen, Kanto,
and
and
Uno.
Uno. Yeah, Uno. I forgot about him. That's
That's Gunner. Those are Gunners.
yeah. If you look at that team from only a player perspective, there is a lot of raw talent on that team. So I'm just wondering, like, when is it going to click, or is it going to click? Maybe there's clashing play styles and personalities on the inside that we're not able to see, but it's there is so much that team has going for it. I'm just waiting for them to be that next like G2 reign of terror.
I think just the fact that that G2 like super team hasn't worked kind of shows that in Siege it's not just all about being able to frag. And not saying that those guys aren't smart or anything because they are, but you can definitely tell like with that roster they are centered around trades and getting kills, and winning rounds out that way.
Mm-hmm.
And like I just don't know if that works all that great, especially with their performance right now. But also, I think some of their players have also been they haven't been playing too well. I don't know if that's like just the nerves because it is SI, but there have been some pretty bad performances from certain members on that team. But hopefully they can pick it up here in the playoffs here. But Parabellum, who they're playing, has really been a surprise. Everyone kind of thought they were going to be eliminated for sure, but they did pretty well. They beat SSG. They beat. I think they. Who else did they beat? They beat a couple. They had a couple upsets there. They
Yeah.
beat Makers, but it could have gone either way. Um, but then they also beat. Oh yeah, they beat Nip. And Nip, beating Nip was also kind of interesting. Like that was surprising as well. Then they beat Giants as well, but that was more of a. It could have gone either way. But yeah, Parabellum has been very interesting team to look at from
Yeah.
that regard.
Kind of
Kind of a dark horse, you could say. Like they
yeah,
might tear it up in the
kind of
playoffs.
like out of nowhere.
Yeah, because they're
Because
just a challenger league
yeah, they
team
got in on the. I was gonna say
NA.
they got in on the CL seed. I think through the qualifiers, right?
Yeah, they beat Exet or used to be Rent Free, but they beat them. Or no, I think they beat Beast Coast to win it out. I don't know who they beat, but yeah, they got through the qualifier, and they're a North American Challenger League team, and you know how it is. Like North American Challenger League gets made fun of all the time, saying that
Right.
it's like a joke. But then this team is like doing really well. And then also the fact that Makers, which is like a T3 European team,
Yeah.
like also placing above like Space Station and even beating Space Station.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like you said, we're in a new era of Siege here. Like these are up and coming teams, I think for sure that will definitely make it into Pro League at some point because they've proven that they can hang with everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
But
it's
yeah, I mean, just honestly, just going off of what happened in the group stage, I would give the match to Parabellum. But the experience of the guys on G2 kind of will make. I think it'll be a really good best of three.
I mean,
Um,
we say experience, but also like you said before, there's no crowd.
yeah, that's true. But also just the fact that they are playing on LAN and they're going to play a best of three. Just like having that endurance, like having done that so many times before, will definitely help G2 because Parabellum has never played on LAN in a BO3, and that's what they're going to have to do. So this is like uncharted territory for them. But yeah, you're right. There is no crowd, which definitely kind of lessens the fact that the fact that it's on LAN.
Yep.
Um, yeah. So, do you think G2 will be able to beat Parabellum, or do you think that Parabellum will edge out?
I'm not sure.
You just had no idea.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that much about Parabellum. The only
I
thing
don't
I've
really
seen
know
is
them
like
either.
G2's kind of subpar performance.
Yeah. Um, so then I think you'll have something to say about this one: Dark Zero versus Furia. I, do
Speaking of
you
poor
think Dark Zero will win?
performances, Dark
Yeah, Dark.
Zero, what
I
are you
mean, they
doing?
the Skies played crazy pretty much throughout the whole tournament or throughout the whole group stage. But I mean, NJR has not showed up like at all, unfortunately. And I think people were I was expecting since they dropped Hot and Cold for NJR, I was expecting a pretty good performance from this guy because Hot and Cold is a very well regarded player and they ended up dropping him and picking up a younger talent, a younger gunner, but he really hasn't kind of panned out yet. Now, I'm not
Yet.
saying that he's bad, but just so far his performance has not been amazing.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but what are you going to
It
do?
is. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that match. I actually have no clue. That's a toss-up for me because Dark Zero hasn't played too well, and Furia is again a LATAM team, and they're more aggressive. And I think Dark Zero kind of struggled against that. They lost to a lot of what's it called? They lost to a lot of LATAM teams in the group stage, if I remember correctly. So Yeah, it might be a bad matchup for Dark Zero. I'm just looking here. Yeah, Dark Zero lost against Furia. Oh, they beat FaZe Clan, and they beat Team One. Okay, so maybe. But they did lose against Furia in the group stage, so who knows? Who knows?
Like I said, and just in general, I'm very excited to see how this invitational shakes out.
Yeah,
Then again, I'm never
yeah, me
not
too.
excited. You know,
That's true. And just the last lower bracket match is Cloud9 versus Makers. Again, I don't really know much about either of these teams, but I probably have to give it to Makers just based on their performance. Like they've been doing surprisingly well for a T3 European team. Um, but yeah, do you have any predictions for the finals, like the absolute finals, and who's actually going to win the whole thing? Because that I think that's still up in the air. But do you have any ideas?
um, I have who I want.
Who do you want?
um, if I mean, I'm a big DZ fan just in
Yeah,
general. For the upper bracket finals, I would like to see Empire and BDS.
yeah, that would be a barn burner of a match for
And then
sure.
I think it would be I'd like to see that loser play
Dark Zero,
Parabellum.
Parabellum.
I think it would be crazy if a CL team went that far.
If a CL team now, do you think this would Parabellum beat one of those teams or
I think
get?
Parabellum's going to lose probably first or
Yeah,
second round down there. I mean, if they beat G2,
yeah.
props to them, but I don't think they're going to get past that. I don't think they're going to get that far. But I think it would be crazy to see them go that far.
It
You know what I mean?
it would be crazy. Yeah,
I think realistically, a team coming out of the bottom is probably going to be SSG or DZ. I just think like
yeah,
Darkseer's having what 3 or 4 days to prepare. They always do better when they prepare.
yeah.
So we'll see. But I think realistically, it might be DZ or SSG coming out on the bottom and playing Empire BDS. Or if it's not BDS, it's going to be TSM. And like the Latin America teams are such a curveball because they just play so differently. I mean, like Liquid, MIBR, and FaZe Clan, they're all Latin America teams. So
Yeah.
they just have that kind of different kind of play style, which sometimes works really well against foreign teams, especially
Yeah.
European. I would say.
Yeah. For me, just looking at how the bracket is and what teams are in the upper and lower bracket, if I'm going to be honest, I don't think SSG is going to make it incredibly far. I think they might make it to like round 3 or 4 of the lower bracket, but I think
Mm.
they're going to get beat. Um, I don't know. The lower bracket is kind of looking kind of crazy, but I think if they do beat Team One, they're going to get beat by. I'm just looking upper bracket quarterfinal one loser. So that would be Team Empire versus Oxygen. Yeah, either one of those teams probably will be able to beat Space Station if they lose. So honestly, for me in the finals, I think what we're going to be looking at here. Oh, this is hard. I think probably, in my opinion, probably a TSM Team Empire, just based on the current
So
performances. I think BDS will make it to the lower bracket finals, but I think that's where TSM will beat them, and I think Team Empire is going to just steamroll all the way to the up through the upper bracket. I think TSM, and once TSM and BDS meet, TSM will beat them first, and then TSM and Empire will play, and then TSM will go down, and then TSM and BDS would play in the upper bracket, or sorry, in the lower bracket final, and TSM will beat BDS, and then you'll have a Team Empire TSM final. And I think that I'll just give it to Team Empire. I think will win the whole thing. I don't know.
if they
They
keep
just look
playing how they are,
unstoppable.
oh, I 100% agree. If they keep
Yeah.
playing the way that they have been, there's a very good chance.
What's also possible though is what if like Team Empire just like does not show up at all? Because I think that is actually a possibility.
I
Like
know.
they just could just absolutely just turn into something that they were not playing like before. I have no idea though. But again, right now, just based on everything, TSM Team Empire final, and I'll give it to Team Empire to take the dub skis. So yeah, wow, that was a long time just talking about SI.
But I mean, it's the biggest thing in Siege. It
It is.
matters.
It really sucks that there's no crowd though, because that's like the best part of SI. It's like the crowd.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I mean, even just watching from home, just like seeing the crowd, getting all hype.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna miss it, and hopefully we can go soon.
Yeah, next year,
Yeah.
hopefully. Anyway, is there anything else that we want to talk about before we head off?
No, other than if you're part of the Siege community, please don't be toxic.
Oh, yes. That is kind of something we struggle with as a community, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like even our most recent games that we played,
Yeah,
people
even
just
today.
constantly have something to say. I mean, like I'm all for a little bit of like trash talk now and then.
Like a good night here and there.
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
if it's to the point where you're just, I don't
Typing in
know.
chat all game, being a jerk on purpose, like,
Yeah, like you're what's wrong
yeah,
with the community.
yeah.
That's all. That's all. Don't want to dive too much into it. But that's my TED
I
talk.
know, but it really sucks. Like, there's so many people who just, and people think they can get away with it because it's online, but it's just so annoying. That's why I have chat muted. Like, I just don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, that's for the best.
It
You're doing
really
the right
is.
thing.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well,
I
I
think
would
that's
say
it.
this is gonna wrap up episode 8.
Yeah.
Do you have anything
All
else
right.
to add, North?
I don't think so. I'll be watching all of the SI matches, that's for sure, though. If I'm
Sweet.
not working, that is.
Yeah, and hopefully we can pump these out more often.
Yeah, hopefully.
And I think we should have a guest on next time. We have somebody scheduled. Our schedules haven't quite lined up for a while, so
Yes.
but we wanted to kind of get on and
Business.
touch on the invitational before it comes out and get this out to you guys, and hopefully your team, whoever you're rooting for, does well.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah,
We'll see, though. It's going to be pretty unpredictable, I think.
I hope so. That's what makes it more interesting to watch.
That's very true.
But alrighty, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you everybody for sticking with us for so long. We hope to see more of you in the future. As always, if you have any comments, questions, whatever, feel free to shoot either of us a message on Twitter. Drop a comment down below. We'll see it. We'll get back to it. We'll respond to it in the next podcast. See ya.
All right. Bye.